Rain fell in a steady silver curtain over Vancouver, turning the streets into mirrors of blurred headlights and gray sky. Elise pulled her coat tighter as she climbed the slope toward number 344, the modest brick building that housed the neighborhood newspaper. Water gathered at the edges of the pavement, and she stepped carefully between puddles, her heart fluttering with a nervous excitement she could barely contain. "This is it," she told herself. "No more waiting." The traffic signal flashed red, halting her at the corner. As cars hissed past on wet asphalt, her thoughts drifted. Back through years, back to a different season, a different self. Summer, 1957. Julian Beatrice lay flat on the cool living room floor, his ear nearly brushing the cloth-covered speaker of the old radiogram. A Mozart record spun lazily, violin notes rising and falling like sunlight on water. School had just ended, grade 7 behind him, an endless summer ahead. The world felt wide and quiet and full of possibility. His sister Marianne, 2 grades ahead and already brushing the edges of adulthood, had secured a summer job. That left Julian alone most days with their mother. He didn't mind. Solitude suited him. He preferred books to baseball, music to noise, the gentle rhythm of helping his mother in the kitchen to the rough shouts of boys his age. "Julian, stop drifting and get ready," his mother called from the kitchen. "We're heading into town soon." "Just a minute, Moody," he replied softly, waiting for the record to end. She smiled at the familiar answer. Julian's mind was always somewhere half-hidden, like a secret garden she could sense, but never fully enter. As a schoolteacher, she understood children, how they guarded their inner worlds. She'd brought him to class with her when he was younger, unable to afford a sitter. Being younger than the rest had forced him to adapt quickly. He had skipped ahead a year, yet he still felt slightly misaligned, as though life had nudged him forward before he was ready. "I thought we might stop by Stacy's before the library," she suggested later as they drove. "They're having a sale. You've outgrown half your shirts." "That would be nice," he said, brightening. Trips to Stacy's often meant milkshakes afterward, strawberry for him, always. He watched the town roll past the window, but his thoughts lingered elsewhere. Fiona Smith, his closest friend, 2 years older, gifted at the piano. They had spent afternoons together, she at the keys, he fumbling sweetly on the recorder. They baked with his mother, stitched uneven seams into scraps of fabric, picked flowers for the kitchen table. But Fiona had gone to the city to attend a music-focused high school. The house felt quieter without her laughter. "You're thinking about Fiona again," his mother observed gently. "I just miss her," he admitted.
"So do I," she said.
They parked, and soon the scent of new fabric and polished floors surrounded them as they stepped into Stacy's. The escalator carried them upward to the children's section, where bright summer colors spilled from racks like captured sunshine. His mother paused at a display. "Oh, Julian, look at this." She lifted a long cotton dress patterned with soft blue flowers. Lace traced the collar and cuffs, delicate and old-fashioned. She brushed the fabric against her cheek, smiling wistfully. "Fiona would have adored something like this. Your sister's too grown for it now." Julian stared. The dress shimmered in his imagination, not as something for Fiona, but as something for himself. A quiet yearning, long buried, surged forward without permission. "You could buy it for me, Moody," he blurted. Silence settled between them. "What did you say?" she asked, not sharply, just surprised. His heart slammed in his chest. He hadn't meant to say it aloud. His father's stern voice echoed in memory. "Beatrice boys are steady. Strong. Not fanciful. Not soft." I meant maybe I could give it to Fiona," he corrected quickly, eyes lowered. But his mother was studying him now, not as a shopper, not even as a mother exactly, but as a teacher who had just glimpsed the truth behind a child's hesitation. She saw the tremble in his fingers, the flush climbing his cheeks, the fragile hope fighting to hide itself. "That's thoughtful," she said carefully. Then, after a pause, "But you and Fiona are nearly the same size. Why don't we see how it fits? Just to be sure." His breath caught. Inside the fitting room, the air felt still and suspended. He removed his shoes, then his shirt and trousers, hands clumsy with nerves. Close your eyes, she said softly.
He did.
The dress slipped over his head, cool and whisper-light against his skin. She fastened the buttons with deliberate care, smoothing the fabric down as though this were the most natural thing in the world. Open them. He faced the mirror. For a moment, he didn't breathe. The reflection staring back at him was both familiar and astonishing. The lace framed his face. The skirt fell gracefully around his knees. Something inside him, something long-starved, unfurled like a flower in sunlight. Moody, it's beautiful, he whispered. He wasn't thinking about Fiona anymore. He wasn't thinking about anyone else at all. His mother watched quietly, her own thoughts shifting, rearranging. She had expected embarrassment, perhaps confusion. Instead, she saw wonder, relief, recognition. Well, she said at last, steady and composed. Then we'll take it. He blinked at her reflection in the mirror. And since it fits, she continued gently, perhaps you should wear it home. The words dissolved whatever thin wall remained inside him. Emotion rose swift and overwhelming. He turned, burying his face against her, arms wrapping tightly around her waist. Quiet sobs shook his small frame, not from shame, but from the immense release of being seen. Outside, summer sunlight poured through the store windows. Years later, standing at that rainy intersection in Vancouver, Elise felt that same tremor in her chest. The same fragile courage. The same quiet certainty. The light changed. And this time, she didn't hesitate to cross. They stood wrapped in each other for a long, trembling moment. No explanations, no corrections, just the steady rhythm of shared breath. Mrs. Beatrice stroked his hair the way she had when he was small, her fingers moving slowly, thoughtfully. All right, she murmured at last, brushing away the dampness from his cheeks. If we're doing this properly, we can't possibly pair that lovely dress with those battered sneakers. Julian glanced down at the frayed canvas shoes, their laces mismatched, their soles peeling at the edges. The sight of them beneath the soft floral hem made both of them laugh, a bright, surprised laughter that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Without hesitation, she gathered his folded trousers and shirt over one arm and took his hand with the other. Together they approached a shop assistant. My daughter adores this dress, Mrs. Beatrice said smoothly. She refuses to take it off. Could you help us find shoes to match? Of course, madam. The assistant smiled warmly, then looked at Julian. You look wonderful, miss. That shade truly brings out your eyes. Julian felt heat rush to his face, but his mother's gentle squeeze steadied him. He lifted his chin slightly, smoothing the skirt before sitting down, careful and deliberate, just as he had imagined in secret daydreams. The assistant returned carrying black sandals with delicate ankle straps and small gold buckles, along with white socks edged in fine lace. These will be perfect, she said. The lace mirrors your collar beautifully. Julian slipped them on. When he stood before the mirror again, the transformation felt complete, harmonious. Something inside him blossomed fully. He turned eagerly. Can we get them, Moody? Please. Of course, Elise, she replied softly. The name hung in the air. He froze, breath catching. Moody. But she was already watching him with quiet understanding. She had known perhaps longer than he realized. The drawings tacked inside his closet door. The way he'd once begged Marianne to let him keep a postcard of a girl named Elise pinned beside his bed. The alpine fantasies he whispered to himself. White apron, meadow flowers, goats wandering among mountain slopes. That will be perfect, she said calmly to the assistant. Please put the sneakers in the box instead. Purchase complete, parcels gathered. She turned to him again. Come along, Elise. We should do something about your hair. It doesn't quite match your lovely new look. He hurried beside her, half skipping to keep pace. The crisp tap of his new sandals on the pavement thrilled him. Every step felt like stepping further into himself. The bell above the salon door chimed as they entered. A faint nervousness crept into his chest. Haircuts had never been pleasant. His earliest memory of one, his father insisting on a severe trim, the barber's coarse laughter, the sharp smell of aftershave, still lingered like a shadow. After that, His mother had trimmed his hair at home, though never without resistance. "Good morning, Mrs. Harlow," his mother greeted. "This is my daughter, Elise. I know we don't have an appointment, but could you possibly fit her in?" Mrs. Harlow's eyes brightened. "Well, aren't you lovely? We're not too busy yet. Come, dear." She circled him thoughtfully. "We'll need to tidy this up, but I have just the thing." Julian, Elise, sat in the chair. Warm water flowed through his hair. The scent of shampoo rose softly, floral and clean. Mrs. Harlow's fingers massaged his scalp with practiced gentleness. He felt weightless, cherished, as though each touch affirmed something long denied. When he opened his eyes, his hair was wrapped in a towel like a neat little turban. Mrs. Harlow trimmed carefully, evening the ends while preserving their length. A curling iron shaped the fringe and softened the nape of his neck. "This will frame your face beautifully," she said, "and it shows off that lace collar." The door chimed again. His mother returned, carrying a small paper bag and wearing a mysterious smile. "All finished," Mrs. Harlow announced. "Close your eyes," his mother whispered. He obeyed. He felt her fingers brush the back of his neck, fastening something delicate. When he opened them, a gold chain rested against his collarbone, a tiny heart-shaped locket catching the light. "Oh," Mrs. Harlow breathed. "How lovely." He threw his arms around his mother. "Thank you. You have a wonderful daughter," Mrs. Harlow said warmly. "Do come again." "Yes," his mother replied, her voice thick with quiet emotion. "This is a very special day." Outside, the world seemed different, brighter somehow. They decided to forego milkshakes and head home for tea instead. As they walked, Elise couldn't resist glancing at every reflective shop window. Each glimpse showed a girl moving lightly in a floral dress, sandals tapping neatly against the pavement. At home, the kitchen felt cool and familiar. Mrs. Beatrice sank into the armchair with a sigh.
"Well,
That was not how I expected the morning to unfold. And we forgot entirely about those t-shirts." Elise, already moving instinctively toward the kettle, smiled softly. He set out cups and saucers with practiced care, the new bracelet of his sandals peeking beneath the hem as he crossed the floor. From her chair, his mother studied him, really studied him. There was a grace there she had glimpsed before but never fully allowed herself to see. Their bond felt altered now, deeper, more delicate. Yet uncertainty lingered at the edges of her thoughts. The kettle began to whistle. Right on cue, a familiar voice called from the hallway. "Is anyone home? I thought I heard tea being made." Aunt Doris stepped into the kitchen, brushing rain from her coat. Her gaze landed on the slender figure arranging cups. "Well now," she said with a curious smile, "who is this pretty young lady, Gretchen?" Then her eyes sharpened. She leaned closer. "But, Julian? I can't believe it," Aunt Doris breathed, stepping closer. "You look radiant. Turn around, let me see properly." The request sent a rush of heat to Julian's face. His throat tightened, tears shimmered dangerously in his eyes. He stood very still, unsure whether to hide or obey. Mrs. Beatrice moved in with quiet grace. "Why don't you take the parcels upstairs for a moment, Elise?" she suggested gently. "Then you can come back down and show Aunt Doris your beautiful dress." The name steadied him. Upstairs, he lingered by his bedroom mirror, fingertips brushing the lace at his cuffs. Below, he could hear the low murmur of adult voices, his mother explaining, Aunt Doris responding with thoughtful pauses. Aunt Doris had known him since infancy. If anyone outside the family could understand, perhaps it was her. When he returned to the kitchen, the tension had softened. Tea was poured. Conversation flowed. Aunt Doris's gaze held curiosity. Yes, but also warmth. The world had not collapsed. Eventually she stood, smoothing her coat. "I'll be thinking about all this, Gretchen," she said quietly. Then she turned to him. "Thank you for the tea, Elise." Julian, Elise, walked her to the door. As she stepped out, she squeezed his hand gently. "You truly look beautiful," she whispered. The words glowed inside him long after she left. Later, as Mrs. Beatrice prepared supper, he drifted back to the living room and placed a record on the radiogram. Music filled the space, wrapping around him like reassurance. The doorbell rang again. His mother answered, and Aunt Doris stood there once more, this time holding 2 large cardboard boxes. "I've been thinking," she said. "These are Fiona's old things. She outgrew them so quickly. I thought perhaps Elise might like them." Elise's heart leapt. Together, they carried the boxes upstairs. Inside lay dresses, skirts, blouses, carefully folded pieces of another girlhood. He lifted each one reverently. "Oh, Moody, do you remember when Fiona wore this to the recital?" They sorted and stacked, laughter mingling with the soft rustle of fabric. "Undergarments and shoes in the drawers," his mother instructed lightly. "We'll press the dresses tomorrow. Choose your favorite. We'll show Aunt Doris next time she visits." Time slipped by unnoticed. Then came the unmistakable sound of tires on gravel. His father's car. Elise froze. Fear crept in like a cold draft. What would he say? What would he see? Without hesitation, Mrs. Beatrice wrapped her arms around her child, holding tightly, an anchor in uncertain waters. "Do you need help crossing, ma'am?" Elise blinked, startled. The present rushed back in. Rain speckled her coat. The traffic light had cycled twice. A man stood beside her at the curb, offering a polite smile. "Oh, no. Thank you. I was just thinking." The light changed. She crossed, pulse steadying as she approached the building ahead. The sign above the entrance read the Herald. She wondered how many times she had walked past it without truly seeing it. Umbrella raised, she stepped inside. The newsroom was open and bright, desks arranged in neat rows. For a moment, she felt exposed, every footstep echoing louder than it should. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked. Elise inhaled deeply. "I'd like to place a notice for a name change." The receptionist nodded kindly and called across the room. "Zoe, I have a name change request." Heat rushed to Elise's ears as a petite woman stood and approached with an easy smile. "Hi, I'm Zoe," she said. "Come on over." At her desk, she slid a simple form across. "Take your time." Elise's hand trembled slightly as she began writing. Current name, new name. The letters felt monumental. "Is it obvious I'm nervous?" she asked softly. "Yes," Zoe answered with a gentle laugh. "But that's perfectly normal. This is a big step. It takes courage." The honesty steadied her. She finished, paid the fee, and stood. But before she could retreat, Zoe stepped around the desk and gave her a brief, warm hug. "Welcome, Elise." That was all it took. The careful composure she'd held for weeks dissolved. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they carried no shame, only relief. "Thank you," she whispered. Outside, rain mingled with her tears as she stepped back onto the sidewalk. She didn't hurry to hide them. The city moved on around her, unaware that something immense had shifted. For the first time, her reflection in the darkened shop windows matched the name in her heart. And she walked forward, finally whole,